My name is Chris Bearkland, and the topic I have chosen is related to the spread of fake news. My survey question is, fake news, why is the spread of fake information so successful? I have reviewed many different sources of information surrounding this topic, and their focus is on many different areas regarding fake news and misinformation. Some of the study questions include, how fast does false information spread? Why do people accept fake news? How far does false information spread? But I have not found any that ask the question of why the spread of fake news is so successful. Some of the important findings I was able to draw out of my sources include, people are most likely to be influenced by their political affiliations over facts. People suffer cognitive dissonance. They would rather feel comfortable than work to reestablish their beliefs and their identities. There is a great deal of money to be made spreading fake information. Spreading fake news is a two-dimensional behavior with the intentional and unintentional spread. Fake news is linked to certain writing styles and is spread more frequently in certain manners. And there are credible sources and offending sources, but all sources fall on a spectrum. The information I plan to gather. I would like to gather information on where interviewees come from. Since people tend to favor what they already believe over facts, this is often consistent with institutions with which the interviewees identify. Through geography, we can identify dominant political affiliations, religious affiliations, etc. I would also gather information on race and gender so that the information can later be used to determine if there is more or less bias that lies with certain groups. I would gather the education levels of interviewees, where people prefer to get their news from, people's top 3 media outlets of choice in ranked order, and the worst 3 in ranked order. This will help to garner an understanding of the individual and their preconceived biases, and I would seek to find out how often a person shares news on social media. The interview. I would open my interview protocol with an introduction and then go on to explain that we are working to understand the spread of fake news and misinformation, and we would like to have this person's input on this. That everything discussed is confidential. I would ask them to sign the release form, then I would thank them for their participation. I would explain any specific terminology that they will hear and give them a chance to ask questions for beginning. I would close the interview with a request for contact information for any follow-up questions and reassurance that all of the information will be kept confidential, as well as an offer to share an abstract of findings with the participant. Designing a survey, the purpose and methods, and how I would present it. The primary purpose of this survey is to understand why fake news and misinformation spreads in such an efficient manner and how they are most commonly spread. This study seeks to identify if certain classes of people and which platforms are more likely to spread misinformation and fake news. Since we are looking at many variables and evaluating people's behaviors, knowledge, and attitudes, a cross-sectional study would be the most useful and cost-effective. This study is aimed at collecting information on the American population in general. Because of the vast distance between interviewees, we will be conducting this study as an internet survey. The study will be mixed method, employing both open-ended and closed-ended questions. This method is quicker and cheaper than other methods and does not require us to train a vast number of experts to send out in the field. We understand that responsiveness may be an obstacle, but we believe that people in contemporary times are accustomed to engaging in online discourse, and many would like the opportunity to be heard. With the relative inexpensiveness and easy access to technology, most populations can be easily reached. This survey will be stratified by geography. Based on our calculations, for the 328 million residents of the United States, in order to obtain a sample with a 2% margin of error and 95% confidence level, we will need 2,401 respondents. With an anticipated 10% response rate, we will send out 24,010 invitations broken up proportionally among the different states based on their percentages of the total population. We will be working with some of the leading online survey companies to conduct this study. Because of the number of participants and the amount of data, it will require 12 months for us to present our findings. The questions in the survey and how they are relevant would be presented as follows. The questions in this survey will be centered around how individuals source their news and if they participate in spreading this information. The manner and sources of the news will be evaluated against existing data from past research on the bias and validity of sources. Additionally, the manner in which information is spread and obtained will also be evaluated against data retrieved from past research on how fake news and misinformation spreads. We will extract the 10 most commonly named media outlets and rank them on a scale of 1 through 10 from least to worst biased on data from past research in which some of the best fact-checking organizations were used. We will also determine the 10 most common methods of receiving news information and rate those on a scale of 1 to 10, least to most likely to spread fake news or misinformation based on past research. We will then pair these up for individuals to see what patterns emerge. We will also evaluate this information of the individual against their affiliations with any social groups and their political affiliations to further see what patterns emerge. Last, we will compare this pattern to see if and how these people spread news and rate the 5 most named methods of spreading news on a scale of 1 to 5, from most likely to least likely for spreading false or misleading information based on past research. It is our belief that this research will give us trait and behavior combinations of individuals susceptible and participative in the spread of false information and how it is spread, which will help us to understand why this phenomenon of spreading fake information is so successful. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for watching.